It's 6:58 on a Wednesday morning. You're standing in a Kroger checkout line with nothing more than a few basic groceries. The woman in front of you is struggling with 3 different cards, hoping one of them works. When it's your turn, you simply tap your card and pay $14.62 without hesitation. Outside, your old 2013 Honda Civic is waiting in the parking lot. There's still a dent on the bumper, and you never bothered to fix it. Because last night, your investment account crossed $900,000. You checked the number once, turned your phone face down, and went to sleep. Nobody in that store knows what you have. To everyone around you, you just look like another ordinary person buying groceries. 9 years ago, you were 24 years old, making about $34,000 a year at a logistics company. You shared a 2-bedroom apartment with Shakshi, paying around $685 each for rent, and your checking account usually had just enough to get you through the month. Then Marcus leaned over your cubicle and showed you his brand new Silverado. He was proud of it, and you understood why. The truck would cost around $612 a month. Marcus made roughly what you did, but he believed that working hard meant you deserved to look successful. You didn't judge him or tell him he was wrong. You simply decided that your money was going to build something different. That same week, Walt from accounting gave you a simple piece of advice. You don't get rich from your paycheck. You get rich from what your paycheck doesn't spend. That Friday, you opened a Roth IRA and invested your first $50. It wasn't impressive, but it was the first step towards something much bigger. You did it again every payday and eventually automated the investments so the money moved toward your future before you could spend it. A few months later, your old Civic broke down. The mechanic handed you a $640 repair bill, and suddenly that emergency fund mattered. But you had prepared for this. You paid the mechanic, fixed the car, and didn't need a credit card or anyone else's help. You weren't rich yet, but you had reached a point where one unexpected bill couldn't completely destroy your month. Then came years when almost nothing exciting happened. Same job, same apartment, same Civic, and the same investments. Your lifestyle barely changed, but your investments kept growing quietly in the background. Small contributions were slowly becoming real wealth. Marcus eventually bought the Silverado and later upgraded again. You never judged him. You simply kept driving your Civic and following your own plan. Your investment account quietly passed $18,000, then $30,000, and eventually $50,000. Nobody around you even noticed. Then a college friend showed you his cryptocurrency games. For a moment, your slow and boring strategy suddenly felt far too small. He showed you screenshots of massive profits on his phone. Compared with those numbers, your steady investments looked almost insignificant. But you stayed with your plan. You realized you didn't need spectacular wins. You just needed to avoid spectacular losses and keep moving forward. Then, one Sunday morning, while making eggs, you checked your phone. Your investments had crossed $100,000. And for a moment, you just stared at the number. Then, the market crashed. Your phone and laptop were filled with falling charts, and suddenly all those years of progress looked like they were disappearing. Marcus couldn't handle watching his investments fall. While everyone around him was panicking, he decided to sell and get out. You did the opposite. You kept investing the same amount every payday, even while the market was falling. Then your manager offered you a promotion. Your salary jumped to $52,000, and suddenly a brand new car looked completely affordable. You went to a dealership and sat inside a new 2023 Camry. The seats were perfect, the screen was huge, and the monthly payment fit comfortably into your budget. But you walked away. You realized that being able to afford something doesn't mean you should buy it if it slows down your bigger goal. You got back into your old Civic and drove home. The scratches and dent were still there, but you knew your money was better invested elsewhere. 8 months later, the market recovered. Your portfolio climbed again, and you finally saw your money beginning to make money. Then the Civic needed another major repair, costing nearly $2,000. This time, you didn't panic. You simply paid the bill. No debt, no stress, and no wondering which bill would have to wait. That's when you realized wealth wasn't really buying luxury. It was buying peace. Later, Ravi arrived at a networking dinner in a luxury Audi, wearing designer clothes and an expensive watch. From the outside, he looked incredibly wealthy.
But underneath the image were financed purchases, debt, and risky investments. You realized that looking rich and being financially free were two completely different things. When Ravi offered you a risky investment, you calmly said no. You didn't need another gamble because your own plan was already giving you something more valuable: freedom. By 35, your portfolio had crossed $500,000. When your manager offered another major promotion, you realized you finally had the freedom to decide whether you actually wanted it. Then your father needed $6,400 for a roof repair. Instead of worrying about the money, you simply stepped in and told him, it's handled.
And now you're back at Kroger, carrying simple groceries toward that same old Civic. Nobody knows what you're worth, and that's exactly the point. You didn't build wealth to look rich. You built it so money would stop controlling your choices.